Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Storehouse Media Group podcast, The Neil Haley Show, but really criminally good with Sherrie and Jen. Guys, thanks for stopping by. I love criminally good for the fact that you're really going to highlight these creators that are talking and they've solved things or they've provided education of some sort. Isn't that right, Jen?
Yeah, we're excited about it. The idea that we gave birth to basically at CrimeCon, and now just working together and getting out there with you and talking to these authors, these podcasters, these filmmakers, everybody in the true crime business.
All right. Okay, who's our guest, Sherrie?
Our guest is Carlos Rodriguez. Welcome, Carlos. It's good to have you on this show. You were a great guest when it was Neil and I, and you were so good. We wanted to bring you back. And I wanted to kind of, piggyback on what you guys were talking about with these creators and these authors and these filmmakers is that how that's their passion and they pour their heart and soul in it. And we just want to kind of get behind the scenes and talk to them as to what they've done and how they got there. So Carlos is really good at that. He has a great bio out there. So we're just excited to have you back.
Yeah, great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Los. Good to see you again.
Hey, great to see you again.
I am really
Yeah,
glad you're here. Thanks.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm so glad that I went to CrimeCon because I really didn't know what it was, and I had someone who used to be a state trooper. He was turned teacher, and I
Ah,
spoke at one of his classes, and he called me one day and he said, "Hey, you should, if you heard of CrimeCon, you should go to." I was like, "No, I don't know. I don't really know what that is." And so it was about a month or 2 months before it actually happened, and I think I got the last table there and then got to meet everyone. I really didn't know what to expect, but it was really great. I mean, everybody there that I met was just so nice and really family oriented and just I thought it was going to be really I thought it was going to be a lot of weird things at first, and then when I got there, I was pleasantly shocked. I was surprised.
I
It was
had that
great.
same thing. I really did. I wasn't sure. I mean, I knew about CrimeCon, and it was like a bucket list thing that one of these years I get a chance, but I didn't know what to expect as an exhibitor. I did not I didn't know what to expect from the crowd or the other exhibitors, how that would be. And you're right, that family or that closeness, that there was some kind of
Yes.
weird bond that I don't know how 10,000 people, at Caesar's Palace can have a bond, but it was a very much locked in bond with everyone. I didn't have one bad minute there.
Yeah, everyone seemed really genuine. That's what I liked about it. And then people would come by. I'm sure you experienced this too, and they'd say, "Hey, are you going to Orlando? Because that's the next one. Are you going there? Am I going to see you there? I hope to see you there." And we'd come by, they'd say things. You'd give. I was hugging people at the end, and I mean, it was just really. I really liked it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So then I got to meet both of you. So that's
Well,
great.
we
Yeah.
were glad to meet you. You're probably one of the most genuine people I have met in my life. I'm 63, and meeting you, it was like, what a genuine guy. I mean, we were going back, we're talking about the different people we'd met, and just chit chatting, each night as we walked back over to Flamingo across his road. And it was just, the whole talk was about these people we met. And it was like, Los, such a genuine guy. Didn't you just love him? What'd
Yeah.
you say, Sherry? Yes.
I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so nice. And, it's really interesting. And, I did an interview with you last week and learning more about you and going, what you've experienced and investigated. It's like, how can this guy be so nice? Because
Yeah.
you've seen a lot and you've experienced a lot. But then you talked about the compartments you put everything in. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know that. I know that compartment thing, and so that's how you kind of cope with it when you've been in law enforcement and dealing with so much stuff. And you wrote a book called The Ugly Underneath. And tell us about that book.
So I wrote a book called The Ugly Underneath, and it deals with navigating the emotional toll of investigating crimes against children. I did that for about 8 years, and it really goes into how some things happened in my life that helped me to be able to compartmentalize things and do that work without me really realizing it before I was even in law enforcement. And I think everybody does that to a certain extent, especially first responders and not just law enforcement, even people who work in an ER or anyone who deals with difficult things. You have to be able to compartmentalize things so you can get through it and focus on the mission. And which is, I think, it's a skill. It's a skill set, and it can be good, but where it can be bad is when you don't open any of those boxes or those compartments and deal with them later. And that's where it can have negative impacts on your life. So I get into a little bit of that into the book about how the things that I experienced when I worked crimes against children, how they affected me, how it was can be have a negative effect, and how I handled it, and then hopefully that can help people avoid the some of the mistakes I made. And so that's really what it's about, is if you are doing the work, if you're interested in that work, what that work really is without the sensationalism. It's the actual casework by someone who actually did it in my team. So everything that's in the book, it isn't something I did all by myself. I always did it with the help of others, because you can't do anything. Anyone who says that they've done, self-made this, self-made that, there are people who have always helped you. So, and it's good to acknowledge your team, because you can't get places without others. So it goes through some of those things. There's some cases in there, and really it's to help those who are doing the work to know they're not alone in that work. We all experience things, and maybe it's just a little bit different, and to hopefully get through that. Spouses of those that have people who do the work, to let them know maybe this is why your husband or your wife, your partner did things this way. It isn't necessarily something that you did, or the kids. Because with my kids, it would be after I talk to them now, with going through writing the book, it was, I thought that maybe you didn't want to be around me, or I didn't do something, maybe I did something wrong, or it was me, when that wasn't the case at all. I was trying to keep that life separate. So those are some things I didn't get quite right, but so it's to help with things like that. And then if you're not doing the work, is to give some insight into what's there, and let's help these people who are still doing this work, because unfortunately it's a necessity. There are people out there wanting to do true evil and horrible things to our kids, and there are a lot of great people out there. We need more, but there are a lot of great people out there that are taking time away from their families to protect your family. And it's important that they stay healthy, and that they continue in that mission to do great things. So they need your support.
Good explanation. Just going to let you know, I've started reading your book. I've got it actually here on my phone. I've got the ebook version, the ugly underneath for the folks who haven't seen it. And what I've done, I've gotten past your being just a Washington State trooper, and I say that as having been just a Virginia State trooper.
Yeah.
Trooper to trooper here. Yeah. Would you talk about the MECTF? And I don't know if y'all pronounce that in any particular way. I know acronyms and law enforcement go together like
Yes.
the military. But yeah, explain to people what the MECTF is, and that's where I'm getting to in the book. You're getting ready to go there.
Yeah, so we called it MECTEF. Like with cops, you always have all these different acronyms. But yeah, we called it MECTEF, which stands for Missing and Exploited Children Task Force. They are a task force that was started by the state legislature uh, in Washington State at the time when they were originally created. There was a little girl that went missing from a bowling alley in Tacoma, Washington. Her name was Tika Lewis, and they didn't have an ICAC, I believe, at that time. But that's really why it was created, because there wasn't anything in place then. And then over time, it kind of mutated into really just working uh, crimes against children. So any cases with minors, and when I was there, that's what we were doing. And unfortunately, all of those crimes happened to be sexual in nature, because that's so we worked, and they still do. They worked if someone raped a child, documented that in video format or photographs, so child sexual abuse material. For your audience, a lot of people, or a lot of times in the news and the federal statute calls it child pornography, but it's really child sexual abuse material is the correct term for that. And it's rape of children is what it is. But I hate when people use the pornography or term because that means it's pornography, whether you agree with it or not, is legal. There's nothing legal about what's going on to these kids. They don't have a choice. They can't grant consent. So, they investigate those cases. They investigate hands-on incidents, and then we used to do, and I believe they still do it. They do stings, so demand ops, where people are seeking to have sex with children, and they'll that based on casework that the task force has had, so based on reality, they'll play the part of someone who has access to children, whether it be a parent, whether it be someone who just has access, whether it be a trafficker, then also or maybe a runaway kid, male or female, and they'll do ops at different periods of times where they speak with people seeking to do that, and then they're very good at it because they've seen how it actually happens, and then they do it in such a way where you avoid entrapment issues because you have to be trained by the it's called ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, so which they are an affiliate of, and so they have all the training in the right way, check all the boxes to make sure they do build a solid case, so that when someone does come in for that, wishing to do harm to a kid, they hopefully they can never do it again. And then they also do the follow up to make sure after the fact that, did this person do this to anyone else? Here they are seeking it, but who do they have access to? And that goes into a number of things. You can digital forensics for their devices, uh, if they have access to kids. So when we would run the ops, we had an intel team there to see if they had prior access to kids. Once we've identified who they may be, because you don't always know sometimes until they show up.
Right.
And then having teams where they can go do safety interviews, make contact. So once the person shows up, it isn't over. It's really the hard work. Hard work starts because you have everything once they get there based on what they've said.
Okay.
And that was one small part of what we did. We did all kinds of different things. But that task force is still alive and well. They do need support. And what's awesome, I'll take this time to plug them. So in Washington State, they have the unique ability to accept public and private donations. They're mandated by the state legislature. The chief is to seek out public and private donations. You can go to wsp.wa.gov. At the bottom, there's a button for MECTEF, and people can donate money to the task force. And it's the legislature. It can only be used for certain things and for the use of the task force. But,
Excellent. That's excellent.
so.
How many years were you in that? Just
Oh,
brief.
I was there for approximately 8 years when I got into that.
Did,
And
can I ask a
yes,
question on it? Did they
yeah,
call it CSAM, the child sex abuse material? Did they call it CSAM during your 8 years there, or did that come about later? Because I don't recall hearing it um
it
in the
it
2000s,
it
early.
came out later. So while I was there, actually in Washington State, we were calling it CAM, so child abuse material.
Okay.
And then I think the official, I'm not sure exactly when that term came out because there was also, the CSAM also in our state, there was a state law for something else uh, that conflicted with CSAM. I don't remember the statute, what it actually was, but it meant the same thing.
Hmm.
Commercial sex abuse of a minor. So that was the term in Washington State that was used when people were trying to purchase for a minor. So they had to change that because it meant the same thing. But I know for a period of time it was called CAM because I had some presentations when I'd go teach law enforcement on interviewing techniques or how we did things. And I'd use CAM on the bottom to just for what the person was arrested to, and then I had to change it. I remember. So
Hmm.
in the beginning, when I first got there, that wasn't a term.
Hmm.
So
I like the new terminology. I think that takes away from that. It's just pornography. It's just
yeah,
pornography. The child pornography. No, that somehow or another lessens it, like you said earlier. And
yeah, because it's something that's legal and people purchase, and then I think it kind of minimizes the true effect. I mean, really, it's rape, but this material is so ugly. So I think that phrase is a good way because it explains what it is, but also no matter no matter how hard you try when you explain this stuff, you get people wince. I mean, sometimes I do it. We all do it when you
oh yeah,
hear something. So you still need to present it in a way where you can talk about it and have people still not just shut down. because you need to talk about this stuff so we can stop it. So I think doing it in a way where people can still accept it, so sanitized to a certain extent, so that you can still hold the attention of people, because some people just shut down and I saw it at CrimeCon. Once people found out what my book was about, when I tell them, some people would instantly stop. It's like, oh, I can listen to people being murdered and chopped up and, put in the trunk of a car, but I can't hear that. I can't, that's, I don't know how I'd accept it.
Wow.
So, so I think doing it that way helps. I know it's hard. It's weird to say that, keep their attention. It's weird to say that, but it's about the topic of what it is, because people need to know it's an issue and support those that are out there doing the work so they can continue to keep this from happening, try to prevent that from happening. And then if it has happened, get the people who this has happened to, get them the services they need, get their family the services they need, and so they can begin their road to heal and become whole again.
Yeah, so you mentioned the ugly, which is part of the title of your book, The Ugly Underneath. You've gone through this whole career. What caused you to write that book?
So, so I retired in June of 2020 from the Washington State Patrol, and then eventually I made my way down to San Diego. I got a job offer to go work at the school district in San Diego, and that's where I work now. And when I moved from Washington State to San Diego, I did not have the same support structure that I had up there. So I went and got help. So started to see someone for therapy to manage some of the things that I was experiencing. And during that time, I started to write things out. And in my conversations with my therapist, one time she said, "Have you ever thought of sharing some of the things that you've gone through?" So that she goes, "I think it could really help people. And so if you're willing to do that, I think that could be a good thing." And she goes, "You should, just think about it." And then so I thought, well, I had taken a creative writing class when I don't know, I was like 19 years old in community college. And so I thought, well, how about I'll write a book. So I started to write. I would write about 2 hours a day. And except some days when I didn't want to go to sleep and be thinking about some of the material. So I'd wait till the weekend and then write then. And I did that for about a year. And then once I had all that, I kind of I set it aside for a while, and then I looked at it all and started to craft it into what the book became. But that's why I did it. It was suggested that maybe I could help others, and I like I like doing that. I like helping. I like building things, building programs. So I gave it a shot, and then here's the book.
And the book was therapeutic for you, wasn't it?
Oh yes, so much, and it was. I remember the first thing I wrote about was just an instance of, well, I won't give too much, but it's an instance of learning my parents are getting divorced. That was like the first thing I wrote. And I remember my dad was visiting me, and he and my stepmom, and they were in the other room in my apartment, and I was in my bedroom, and that's when I had decided to start writing. And just the range of emotion that left my body. And it was just really weird because I thought, here I'm writing this and I'm feeling all this, and my dad's in the very next room. It was just kind of weird. But it felt very good. It was very therapeutic. There are a lot of things that I wrote that are not in the book, just because some of those things are for me to go through. Maybe later I'll share things, those things. But for me, yeah, it's great. And then the whole process, just all the way up until when it was released, I was extremely nervous of how people were going to accept this, because you're putting yourself out there. And but it's all been great. And just the feedback I get from people and different people I meet, or messages I get about how it's helped them, that that I think's been the best. Or a phone call you get from someone you haven't talked to in 3 4 years, and they said, "Hey, I read the book, and man, I knew you, but I did, and I knew what you did, but I didn't know you went through all that." And then sometimes they'd apologize. It's like, well, no, so it's like, there's things I'm not going to share. You don't need to know those things. But I appreciate you talking to me. It makes me feel really good. It makes me know I made the right decision to share this with the world. So
You did.
What do you think your message, the main message you want readers to walk away with after reading your book?
I think the big thing for me is just knowing if you're going through something that's difficult, no matter what it is. I mean, I dealt with some really heavy bad things, but which not everyone's going to deal specifically with this, right? But I think no matter what you're dealing with, there is someone, you're not alone. And there's someone else out there that's going through some version of it. It may not be exactly the same, but you're not alone. And to know that it's okay to talk to people and it's okay to get help. And when you feel that certain way, it doesn't mean that you're broken and you're damaged forever. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of damage depending on what you've experienced, but you can get through it. And because even through all the things I've gone through, I'm super happy. I mean, I have my kids are still alive. They still love me. I've got people who care for me, got a roof over my head, don't have to worry where my next meal's going to come from. There are a lot of people who don't have that. So I'm in a even with all those things, I'm in a really good place and I got to do a lot of good. So I think for me is if you're involved in doing this kind of work, no matter how dismal it is, um, you're going to be okay. And it's okay to share how you feel with others so you can keep doing the work because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to continue to function. It's actually going to negatively impact what you're trying to do and those around you. Um, and through that, that means taking breaks so you can do that. But I think that's the biggest thing is you're not alone in this. There are other people who can help you, and what you're doing is important. So just know that you need to be here. I mean, I've had friends who have done things and they unfortunately they've uh, made the decision to no longer be on this earth. And I'd much rather them still be here and talk to me about it, even if it may be a little embarrassing for them, but and get through it, than think that it'd be better if I'm just not here. Or I can't handle this. It's you. So if you're in that situation, just know there are people who love you, and if you're gone, it's going to be way worse for them. It's not the right decision.
You're absolutely right, Luce. I know how that feels. I was gonna say, uh, where are you gonna be at? Tell us about your next couple of appearances with the Ugly Underneath and who you're gonna be talking to.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. I'm going to be at the Dallas Crimes Against Children here in a few weeks. I'm actually packing up my truck and driving from San Diego to Dallas be leaving the evening of the 31st of July, and then I'll be there through the 6th. So I'm going to be there with the International Association of Human Trafficking Investigators. They're an outfit that runs, they provide training to law enforcement, prosecutors, and others in the space of human trafficking on how to combat that. So that they run a number of conferences in Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, and Canada, up in Canada. I'm not sure all the locations in Canada. So I'll be there at their booth promoting the book, hopefully seeing some old friends. And then from there, I'm going to Clearwater, Florida, and I'll be at the IATI conference there. I'll be presenting at that one on wellness with one of my friends, Melissa Kaiser. So that's great to talk about how this work affected me, how I handled it, and then she's going to talk about here's some things Carlos did right, here's some things he did wrong, but here's some resources so you can get it right and be healthy. And then from there, I'll be at the Pacific Northwest ICAC conference in Bellevue, Washington. So I'll be there
Wow.
presenting there, and then I'll have the book there. There's a number of them. Another IATI. I met someone at CrimeCon. Her name's Leslie. She's with the Marshalls Museum, so they're gonna have me go there and do a little talk. So that's good. Um, the real mamas of cryptocurrency of crypto. I met them at a conference where I talked about why they should report illicit activity with cryptocurrency, to saying the types of things it can be used for. So I met a wonderful lady there, and she invited me to speak with them. So I'm excited about that because that's something totally different. I haven't done that before. But there's
Oh,
a number of things. It's my calendar is filling up, so it's great.
that's pretty good. That sounds great, and it definitely sounds like you're gonna crisscross the country a lot there too. That's all right. Um,
Yes, yes,
we're gonna see you coming back to CrimeCon next year in Orlando, right?
yes. I'm gonna be back, and for all the people that I met asking for an audiobook, I just finished the recording. It's with the sound engineer, so it'll be out there. I had a lot of requests for that at CrimeCon. They're like, I don't read, but I listen to them on when I drive. So that's in the works. So hopefully, I think in 3 days I may get to listen to it unless I messed up and I've got to re-record some stuff. But
Oh, very
so,
cool. That's very good.
but yes, I'll be back.
Great. And best place again to go, Carlos?
Oh, theuglyunderneath.com. That'll send you to everything. If you if you're on Instagram or TikTok, it's C_Rodriguez198, and you can look at me there.
Okay. And for our special sponsor, Storehouse Media Group, you can go to storehousemediagroup.com for all things publishing, marketing, and podcasting. Appreciate it, guys. That
All right. Thanks,
was
Mike.
the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show, Storehouse Media Group podcast, and Criminally Good with Sherrie and Jen. Take care, guys.